One of the most common stereotypes for Chinese products is that they are cheap knockoff versions of their Western counterparts. From cell phones to shoes, Chinese companies are famous for replicating specifically American goods without license to do so, and then selling them at a fraction of the price. Time magazine even includes a list of the top 10 Chinese knockoff products, listing devices like the iPhone, iPad, and Gujia. Another notable industry where Chinese companies have been accused of plagiarism is in media, and among the most blatant knockoffs are shows like I Ching Gong Yu, stylized in English as iPartment, and a movie, Qi Che Ren Zong Dong Yuan, or in English, The Autobots. But first, we need to talk about why China has become a hub for rip-off products. The concept even has a term associated with it, shanzai. It may be surprising that legally, modern China is among the most secure for intellectual property in the world. More on that later. Some theories propose that the rise of intellectual property theft in China began more than 4,000 years ago, during the Shang Dynasty. It is said that whenever the king wanted something, be it land, livestock, or anything else, it would simply be given to him, since all of the land was already owned by the kingdom and leased to the working class via taxation. During the Song Dynasty, shanzai came to describe groups of bandits who opposed and evaded the corrupt authorities to perform deeds that they saw as justified, a sort of Robin Hood story. By the time of the rise of the People's Republic of China, many of the ideals of communism, like equal distribution of wealth and all property belonging to the state, were not foreign concepts. In fact, private property ownership was only added to the national constitution in 2004, and only about 14% of Chinese GDP is from private consumption. But I said that modern China is one of the most secure for intellectual property. This is true, at least from a legal standpoint. China agreed to participate in both the Paris Convention for the Protection of Intellectual Property and the Madrid Agreement for the International Registration of Trademarks in 1985 and 1989, respectively. However, in practice, authorities have dragged their feet in implementing these laws, and companies have taken full advantage. The Chinese government at times even encourages companies to steal intellectual property, leading Chinese companies to find either loopholes in the laws or ignore them completely, knowing that if sued, they will find favor in their courts with simple defenses and stagnations. Our first case study is I Ching Gong Yu, iPartment. iPartment is one of the most successful television shows in Chinese history. It is a sitcom from mainland China, which aired from 2009 to 2014. iPartment was originally a promotional series, customized and produced by the dating website of the same name. It is a romantic sitcom, and the premise of the show follows 7 young adults who move into an apartment building that was heavily discounted by a wealthy investor, seeking to support young people in finding love. iPartment, a play on the Chinese word I, meaning love, has been acclaimed for its humor within China, but simultaneously criticized by both Chinese and American reviewers for being too similar in premise and plot to American sitcoms like Friends, The Big Bang Theory, How I Met Your Mother, and Two Broke Girls. According to netizens in both China and the West, some of the jokes are replicated between these shows. Even the premise is too similar to be coincidental. Just like in Friends and The Big Bang Theory, iPartment centers on a group of 20-somethings who live in neighboring apartments in Shanghai. One of the characters is a university lecturer, similar to Friends' Ross character, and a radio show host is similar to Friends' Joey. In 2012, a web user named Grace told the Global Times, "Many lines and scenes have been completely ripped off from American shows. I thought it was shameful to do this. It is an insult to the American TV producers and an insult to the screenwriters and producers of original Chinese shows." According to the Daily Telegraph, another fan wrote, "Is iPartment only intended for those born after 1990 who have not watched Friends?" In 2012, producers were forced to admit to taking ideas from other sources without attribution, and even offered to compensate one comedian for stealing his jokes. However, on the topic of whether content was stolen from Western media, these allegations were roundly denied. A spokesman for the show said, "We didn't copy the American sitcom. Comedies have stereotypes, like the handsome man, the gorgeous woman, the cheap man, and so on. They have that in many comedies. Our creation is not a plagiarism, but more an homage to the American sitcom. No legal action was ever lodged against Shanghai Media Distribution." Our second case study is Chicha Run Zhongdongyuan, in English, The Autobots. The Autobots is a 2015 comedy film produced by Blue Flame Films. The movie tells the story of the young protagonist, Kaka, who invented the K system for human car dialogue. With the help of his assistant Tintin, he designed 3 cars, K1, K2, and K3, and created an interactive relationship between the cars and people. It's a typical race story. They train, they race, they win. There actually was not any controversy until the theatrical poster was released. Right when you look at it though, it's easy to see the source of the criticism. The movie looks exactly like the Disney Pixar film Cars. There are many obvious similarities between the characters as well. Director and executive producer of the production company, Zhuo Jiangrong, told CNN, "I know of the movie Cars, but I've never seen it. I don't even know the names of its characters." He added, "Aren't the cars you see in the street similar? If someone else looks like you, does that person violate the law?" Critics were unconvinced. On Douban, a Chinese social media website which allows users to score and review movies, the Autobots received an average of 2.8 stars on a scale of 5 by about 23,000 users. Douban user 501 commented, "Many innocent moviegoers took their kids to the movie theater believing it to be Cars." The Walt Disney Company also took notice and took action. On June 23, 2016, Disney listed Blue Flame Film among other defendants in a lawsuit claiming that the company had blatantly violated intellectual property laws and plagiarized its film. On December 29, 2016, Shanghai Pudong New Area People's Court ruled in favor of Disney. Blue Flame was required to compensate Disney for 1 million RMB in losses, and Basic Point was also jointly and severally liable for 800,000 RMB of the loss. The two companies were also required to compensate Disney 350,000 RMB for its reasonable rights protection expenses. In conclusion, the prevalence of knockoff products in China, ranging from electronics to entertainment media, reflects a complex interplay of historical, economic, and legal factors. The concept of shanzai, rooted in historical resistance and adaptation, has evolved into a modern phenomenon characterized by intellectual property theft and imitation. Despite legal frameworks designed to protect intellectual property, enforcement often falls short, allowing companies to exploit loopholes or flout regulations with impunity. Case studies such as iPartment and the Autobots illustrate the contentious nature of imitation in Chinese media, with accusations of plagiarism sparking debates over creative integrity and legal accountability. The resolution of these disputes, such as Disney's successful lawsuit against Blue Flame Films, highlights the importance of robust intellectual property enforcement mechanisms in safeguarding creative industries and promoting fair competition on a global scale. As China continues to grapple with the challenges of intellectual property protection, Addressing the root causes of imitation culture and fostering a culture of innovation will be essential for the country's long-term economic development and international reputation.